Hello there. I thought I would make a day in the life video, but it is currently 1:37 p.m. So let me catch you up until this point. I woke up around 5, goofed around on my phone for far too long. Then my daughter woke up and I hung out with her for a little bit before I started work. I work for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. My job is in DC, but I'm in Kentucky, and on Fridays I typically only work a few hours until noon. Quickly had lunch, and then I headed to a local landscaping supply place to get some mulch. I've gone through tons of mulch, brought that home, and now we're back to the present. I've got my pick list ready, so I'm gonna go get my plants and work on both my garden, my vegetable gardens, work on nursery plant stuff, and also just some general life. So I'm gonna take you along with all of that for the remainder of today. Hopefully you like this. Now right now with my native plant nursery, it's set up where orders are taken through the week and then close on Friday at noon for Saturday pickup, that Saturday's pickup. So I've got the website all coded. I actually had a little error in my coding, or not my coding, but my website was set for Greenwich Mean Time. Did not compensate for my time zone, so it was reverting over too soon. So I had to fix that after someone pointed out that after they made an order. And it's like, wait, this says in a week, not tomorrow. So got that fixed. I've got this new fun cart that I've been using to transport plants back to my main nursery area and then back up front where I'm selling them. It's kind of the best solution to move things back and forth and eventually hopefully keep everything organized and in one spot. Currently I have plants scattered about everywhere. These wild quinine are now ready for this area over here. And where to put them? Here. Now this area also has a mixture of plants that I intend to sell, but also things for myself, some experiments, like white false indigo, this plant right here. I only grew a few of them, so mainly for me. I'm definitely trying to figure out how to systematize everything a little bit better. So when I print off my orders, this is my pick list. So like I've got 3 black cohosh that either 1, 2, or possibly 3 people ordered 1, 4 black-eyed Susans, 11 cardinal flowers. So I'll go through and just pick each of the species over here, and then I move them back up towards the front where I'll box everything and get it organized. I might do that a little bit later today. First, getting my plants all picked. This also gives me an opportunity to update my counts of what I actually have in stock. Now that I know that I can actually fulfill all of my orders and didn't have any plants die on me, I'll finish that in a little bit after I print off all my invoices and some more labels for certain selected plants. But now I'm gonna set up an electric fence. I splurged and got a kit from Premier One, which is kind of like the best electric fence netting, at least if you believe all of the reviews on the internet. Here's the lead acid battery. So I got a solar charger one because I didn't want to have to deal with running electricity, and all of the chargers that run off of a plug-in aren't waterproof, at least most of the ones that I was looking at. So the cheaper options weren't actually going to work out for me. So I got all this so I can grow more food in my plot that doesn't have a fence, but particularly to grow corn and other things that are a raccoon magnet. I could put up a small fence to keep out rabbits pretty easily, so I could grow beans, but almost nothing other than an electrified fence is going to keep out a raccoon, and I'm hoping that it will also stop squirrels from getting my tomatoes. Ground, electrical. Now let's test. Corded probe into soil, touch the tester's metal tip to the energized fence strand. All right, cool. Now I just have to hope that myself, my dog, my wife, and my daughter don't accidentally electrocute ourselves. My dog probably will, but she will learn very quickly. I've got 200-foot lengths. I could have definitely done with just 100 and then a 50, so I'll have to double up and double back with it, but I may end up getting a 50 still, and then see if I can then use this connected to the same charger to protect my native plants, because I have critters getting in those. Oh, this was much easier yesterday with the other roll. And given that I'm able to completely double back on this other 100-foot strand, I know I can definitely get by with the 50. 50 would almost be perfect. Because here is where this one started. I went all the way to connected and then doubled back. Oh, and if you're wondering what's the payback on a $700 investment to be able to grow like $50 worth of corn every year, well, it'll take me a while to pay it back, but it's also peace of mind, food security. Maybe I'll do the math after this year, because yeah, with that $50 value, 700, that's 14 years. That's, yeah. This is a hobby. Hobbies are expensive. And I hope to one day maybe have some livestock too. It'll get used. Would you have bought this? And now I have to go get my daughter and be on daddy duty for a little bit. $16 orders packed and ready to go for tomorrow. Now I'm going to get this area cleaned up and also get some of my plants a little bit more organized, because I'm going to a plant swap tomorrow. Some natives, but also I've got some excess things that I've grown from my garden that I will also be swapping and giving away to people. So, and also I think this area is just a mess. So I need to organize this a little bit more, because people are going to be coming up here tomorrow for picking up these plants. And also, while I'm waiting for people, hopefully it's not pouring down rain, I will be potting up things. So I need to kind of figure out, what do I need to pot up? I mean, there's a lot of things that I need to be potting up, but what makes the most sense? It's in like what order, like what really needs to be potted up if I even want to sell it this spring, which we're getting kind of close, if it's not already potted up, and what's just kind of outgrowing its plug tray. At some point I'm going to need a legitimate irrigation system for my native plant nursery. Right now I'm going to see if I can get by with just a regular sprinkler put in the middle. So I'm going to set that up and just see what kind of coverage I can achieve on the cheap. Surprisingly, I think I can cover a full 20 by 20 foot area. This is currently 20 by 10, but I plan to extend it. I mean, if it works. I've been working on my potting medium to try to dial that in for my different species, having 3 or 4 different mixes. One for a woodland mix, one for a super wet mix, a middle of the road kind of prairie mix, and then like a super dry mix. And hopefully if I dial those in, I can just keep my watering the same for everything, and they'll just drain and hold water appropriately. So things that need to be dry will drain and dry quickly. Things that need to be wet will hold on to water, and that way I don't have to create a whole bunch of different watering zones. But I have a long way to go because I killed a whole bunch of butterfly milkweed because it was retaining too much moisture. But this is the logic that I'm hoping to eventually actually effectuate. Somewhere in here, a rain gauge. So I can set this rain gauge up to actually monitor how much water I'm getting from the sprinkler system rather than guessing. Aiming for about an inch. Well, normally you'd want an inch of rainfall for a typical vegetable garden. These pots, because they're so small, they don't hold on to moisture quickly. The shade cloth should counteract that a little bit, so that may take some dialing in. First erring on the side of less, where I can always water more. The problem that I've had with that moisture retention and the butterfly milkweed, that issue is that you can always water more. Once the soil is saturated and if it's holding on to too much water, it's really hard to get the water out. You can always add more, very hard to subtract. Because I've been growing all these native plants for other people, I've been very slow in planting my own native plants. I've got at least 2 dozen, if not 3 dozen things that I want to plant. This being one of them. This is a blazing star, a rough blazing star. It's supposed to like very dry conditions, and I've had it sitting in this very soupy mess of soil. It's still lived. This right here, the camera is actually sitting on top of my septic tank. This hill right here gets fully blasted with sun, very dry. So I'm gonna plant this here along with another one. I think this will be a good spot for this to go. And this area is going to be interesting because I'm going to have a super dry area right here, and then it goes into this like existing prairie planting, this kind of medium. And then right over here, I'm going to take my downspouts, dig channels, run pipe, and then actually have a bit of a rain garden right here. So going to go from like dry to very wet in a span of about 15 feet. Which will be fun because I'll get to put a lot of species right next to one another that you wouldn't normally see in the wild. That's a cool thing about native plants in like the home setting. Usually people's yards have a wide range of kind of conditions in a very small area. So you can plant a lot of different fun stuff that you normally wouldn't see all right next to one another. Okay, that's planted. Hopefully that one will perk up, and then I'll do another one like 2 feet away. over there.